Good morning. So, I have a story for you that involves me spending most of the day yesterday crying. And I want to tell you what happened because I feel like this is I don't know if I want to call it a teachable moment or something that I just want to share with somebody. So, um, I'm just going to kind of pretend like you are one of my friends that I'm telling this story to and take what you want from it. But I got to give Brene Brown credit in her book, um, The Gifts of Imperfection, which I'm just going to start. And I have to, you know how I am. I have to close my eyes so I can talk because I can't look at myself and talk at the same time. So I'm just going to kind of go in and tell this story. So, yesterday, no. Today, Tuesday, April 16th, is my divine masculine's 40th birthday. And if you don't know what a divine masculine is, it's like your twin. It's that person that you have that connection with that you just cannot seem to break. So anyway, I was feeling this overwhelming need to at least say happy birthday because I felt like if I didn't say happy birthday, it was like a big F you. And I didn't feel right about that. So a week or so ago, or a couple weeks ago, I had decided what I was going to do. And then it kind of morphed into something bigger. And it turned into sending him a little text and saying something to doing a video to say happy birthday. Then a present got involved and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the bigger it got, the more stressed out I got. So, and I honestly, I recorded this birthday message to him, no lie, probably 50 times on 3 different days. And I had lunch with my friend Claudine yesterday, and I was a mess. I mean, I'm sitting in the Chinese restaurant and I'm crying because I was so distraught about what to do and how to handle it. If it was not his 40th birthday, I would not be reaching out to him because I just didn't feel like it was necessary, because we don't have that kind of we're not on like that great of terms at the moment. So, but at the same time, I felt like I wanted to say happy birthday. So anyway, let's back up here for a second. So I'm crying with her yesterday, and I'm like, what I realized part of what was stressing me out the most was because I felt like I had an opportunity to get up to bat and say some things that I wanted to say, but I had a very short window of opportunity, which is April 16th. And then once that window of opportunity is over, it's too late to do what I want to do. And it put me in a very vulnerable position because there is a possibility that he could reject me. He could not answer. It could not come out favorably for me. So a lot of self-worth stuff came up. And I also was thinking about my 40th birthday, and I had a surprise 40th birthday party, and I ended up crying at my surprise 40th birthday party because some of the important people in my life that I wanted there didn't show up for it. So of course that kind of digs into your self-worth of like, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I not good enough to, take a day off and come up and see me, or why? And there were some of them that were from Indianapolis that didn't come, and it literally like broke my heart. So, there was a lot of that stuff coming up, and but what I realized the most was that if I didn't take the opportunity today to step out of my comfort zone and stare the big bad wolf in the face, that I was going to feel worse about myself tomorrow, because that meant that I chickened out. And the question is kind of like, what is worse? Having your opportunity to do something and getting rejected, or chickening out and feeling worse about yourself because of that. So that was my dilemma. It was like, do I put myself in a vulnerable position and say what I want to say and do what I want to do and not be sure of the results? Or do I just cower in the corner and not do anything at all? And which is what I wanted to do. But I also knew, I was like going, that doesn't feel right either, because I know what's going to happen the next day. It's like, I'm going to feel like crap, on Wednesday if I don't do something. And so I got on, I love Brene Brown. So like I said, and I even have a book club, Brene Brown Book Club. So I want to read some stuff out of her book. And I'll post some of her videos. If you have never seen, she's got some TED Talks that went viral, and they helped me yesterday get through that crisis of, do I want to be vulnerable and stick my neck out there or not? I'm going to try not to cry during this, but so owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. I'm going to try to get through this. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but not nearly as dangerous as giving up on love and belonging and joy. All right, hang on a second. Come on, you guys. I got to hold this together. Knock it off. The experiences that make us most vulnerable. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. So that's kind of what happened yesterday, is I had to go into that dark place and realize what was going on and decide, am I going to stay in that dark place, or am I going to push my way through and get to the other end? So when I went to bed last night, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sleep on it. I had several videos that I could send him, some longer, some shorter. I could not send him a video at all. I could just say happy birthday. I had various things. I'm like, got tears all over my face now. I had various things that I could do for this birthday. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to wake up on Tuesday morning and see what the guides say. So the next thing I want to say is, a deep sense of love and belonging is an irreducible need of all women, men, and children. We are biologically, cognitively, physically, and spiritually wired to love, to be honest, and to belong. When those needs are not met, we don't function as we're meant to. We break, we fall apart, we numb, we ache, we hurt others, we get sick. There are certainly other causes of illness, numbing, and hurt, but the absence of love and belonging will always lead to suffering. It's getting hot now. So this is kind of what's going on with me yesterday, is because I'm staring this opportunity in the face, and it's kind of like, all right, Jody, what are you going to do? Are you going to stick your neck out there and do something that could potentially blow up in your face? It could potentially change everything in your life, which is also a fear. What if he says, I'll come over and get my present right now, and everything changes? I mean, there was just a lot of fear around this whole thing, trust me. And that's what had me in such a mess yesterday, was there was no good answer. Not doing anything was going to make me feel like shit. Doing something and being rejected could potentially make me feel like shit. If he suddenly comes around and decides, hey, I want to come over, then I'm going to be freaking out, because that's a whole new fear. It was like, I wanted to go, April 16th, I don't want to do anything with it, but I couldn't not do anything. So long story short, I woke up this morning, I sent him a short video that expressed how I felt, and it was pretty light, and he said, hey, thanks, and that was kind of the end of it. So kind of the best case scenario happened was I didn't get rejected. He didn't come running over and freak me out doing that, but I also was able to move through the pain and the fear and get through that. And I got to say, I feel awesome today because I knew that if I didn't take that opportunity to, as they say, get up to bat and hug it, if I just stayed in the dugout because I was scared, I would feel worse about myself. And so that is kind of what the story is. So the next thing that I want to do is so let's just kind of pretend that this could be any situation. This could be a work situation. This could be why why does anybody not stare fear in the face and then walk through it? What causes them to back off and stay in the dugout? I feel like a motivational speaker. So I want to, what are our blocks? What stops us from sticking our neck out and being vulnerable and pushing our way through that fear? What stops us from living our life to the fullest? What stops us from doing the things that we want to do and then sitting at home numbing ourselves out later because we didn't have the balls or the guts or the wherewithal to really step into that fear? So I don't want those. Those are 4 cards. So this is kind of like, let's just see what the guides say, the cards say about what stops us from doing that. I mean, I know what stopped me. There was just a lot of fear. I mean, fear of the potential of having my life changed and flipped upside down, the fear of being rejected, although I've kind of gotten over the fear of being rejected because that whole mess has got me to the point where I don't, it's like there's been so many times, trust me, there's been a lot of growth in that relationship. So the first card that came out, okay, so this comes up as there's 5 keys to understanding all of this self-worth stuff. And there's a lot of stuff from past lives that come into play. Where's my journal at? Hang on a second. I'm pausing to grab my... Okay. So there are 5 things that are unhealed in us when we are not able to look that fear in the face and walk through it. And when something comes up like that and we just decide that we're not going to play that game, we're going to sit at home on the couch crying, eating ice cream or pizza or whatever. So some of the things that you can do to move through this, if you are struggling and there is something that you want to do but fear keeps stopping you, here are the things that you need to work on that will help you get to where you want to go. So again, this could be starting a business. This could be telling somebody you love them. This is kind of that wholehearted living that Brene Brown talks about. Figure out how your past lives and fear from past lives and abandonment issues and all of that stuff plays in your current lifetime. Because trust me, they play a big part. And when I went back and kind of studied past lives of my own and past relationships, I realized where all of my blocks came from with men and having kids and everything. So I was able to kind of work through that and go, okay, now I understand why I don't want them around. Every time I was ever married or got pregnant in previous lives, they always left me or died on me and left me with kids and abandoned me. And it put me in that fear mode this life of I am not letting that happen again. Figuring out what your core wounds are, which everybody comes in. It's self-worth issues. abandonment issues, inner child wounds, things that happened in childhood, not feeling worthy. I mean, there's like a whole slew of them. I need to like figure out what all they are, but you've got to work through those too. And usually if that fear and stuff comes up, it has to do with those wounds coming up to be healed, figuring out what your life purpose is. I think once you feel like you are worthy enough to step into your life purpose, I feel like a lot of things are going to start flowing easier for you, because if you are not in your life purpose now, doing your life purpose, then there's a lot of fear there, because you're still stuck in kind of the old ways. And that's probably one of the things. Stepping into your life purpose is going to be one of the things that's going to move you forward the fastest. I don't know. Change in DNA, which is basically like our bodies are changing right now all the time. The universe is changing. The vibrations are changing. Some of you may be getting downloads, having physical symptoms, and that's something else that's coming along. And reprogramming from like old 3D programming, which is, religious programming and government programming and parental programming and ancestral stuff and all the things that you've just been taught your whole lives of how things are supposed to be. And once you can realize that needs to go and move on and update your operating system, you'll be better off. And then learning what unconditional love is. That's also one of the important things, is like once you can learn what unconditional love is for yourself, it's also easier to move through a lot of that stuff, because you're not going to beat yourself up as much when you put yourself out there and it doesn't work out in your favor. So so that's a whole lot of the blocks that stop you from moving forward. And unawakened popped out, which that, is kind of like what happens before you start working through those 5 blocks of figuring out, why you feel not worthy, working through all that stuff from childhood stuff. So what else are some blocks that crop up that keep us from moving through that fear and living the life that we want? Forgiveness. So you're mad at somebody and you're holding on to that for dear life. So that's something else that the other side is saying. You have got to learn what forgiveness is and do it. Whether you were sexually abused as a child, whether you were physically abused as a child, mentally abused, whatever, you have got to understand how that happened and why that happened and what your lesson to learn from that was. This is going to be a deep video. I didn't really intend for it to be that deep, but you know what I'm going with? There's too many cards. I'm just going to go until they're done. So what else are blocks that stop people from living that wholehearted life that Brene Brown talks about? Oh, there's 2. Twin flame popped up. So for those of you who know what a twin flame is, you understand the whole purpose of that is to heal ourselves. And the person that comes into your life is your mirror, and they just continue to bring shit up that you need to heal within yourself. So once you get most of that healed and they get most of that healed, there might be a possibility you come together. You may throw your hands up in the air and go, screw this. This is the most painful thing that's ever happened, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. So so what they're saying, if you have a twin flame, and as long as you are actively being triggered by stuff that they do, you are not healed. That means you've got more stuff to be healed. And once they can do whatever they want to do without you being negatively affected by it, you've probably worked through most of your stuff. That also goes, I also feel like that goes for soulmates in general, whether that's a love soulmate or a friend soulmate or your mother, father, or brother, sister soulmates. When you can stop being triggered by people, you've worked through a lot of your issues. So, and the pause card, I feel like that. I feel like because, okay, so Brene Brown brought this up in one of the videos about how she was like, and being busy doesn't even come in there, but sometimes people just keep themselves so busy because they don't want to go into those thoughts, because as they say, doing the shadow work is painful. So this whole day yesterday was shadow work for me. It took me a while to figure out what was coming up and how to handle it. I knew it was something that was coming up to be healed, but it even took me half the day and talking to my friend Claudine. And see, this is the interesting thing is how she helped me was, she goes, well, I have a suggestion. And she goes, so just wish him a happy birthday. Don't tell him that you have a present. And basically what her advice was play it small, and then there's less risk of being hurt, and that won't distress you as bad. And I was like, that's it, because like I said, I started out small and it morphed into bigger and bigger and bigger. And the bigger that my idea got, the more stressed out I got, because the more vulnerable that made me. And once I got home and I started thinking about that, I was like questioning. I'm like, okay, so do I want to play small? I have an opportunity here, a window of opportunity to do something big. Do I want to take that opportunity, or do I want to play small? So that was the conversation that I had to figure out with myself. And that was where I was like, playing small doesn't feel right. Playing small, I'm not going to be happy with myself if I play small. If I have the opportunity to do something to make a wow moment, I need to detach from the ending and what's going to happen from that. So then it became more about my self-worth and my ability to work through this than what was going to happen on the other end. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? Let's get one more card and then maybe a few words from the universe. And I feel like that one wanted to come out. Refocus. I feel like that is saying that sometimes if you want to grow, you have to stop and you have to focus on healing those wounds. You can ignore them as long as you want, but they will continue to come up until you finally do something about it. So you can run from them as long as you want, and that is your prerogative. I didn't want to run from mine forever because I was tired of dealing with the pain. It was like, I would be like, if I knew what to do, I would do it. If I knew how to fix things to make this go away, I would. So I actively looked a lot of stuff in the face to stare it in the face, because I didn't want to live a half-assed life like I had been doing. And that's kind of what this is all about. So let's do one last thing. What do they have to say? What do they want to say? Which cards do I want to use? I feel like this is the deck that I want to use. So what last words of advice does the universe have to do with, have to say with, I don't know, being vulnerable, how to get through being vulnerable, what to, I don't know, just tell me what you want to say. Wrap up anything else that you want to say about this whole conversation. And I feel like that one wants to come out. So any last words of advice about being vulnerable and moving through that fear that crops up when you get yourself into a situation. And sometimes it's not, sometimes you get yourself into a vulnerable situation. It just happens. It's not like you put yourself there on purpose. Sometimes you can put yourself there on purpose, and sometimes being vulnerable gets put upon you. Sometimes you have to ask for help, and sometimes things crop up, whether it's a job promotion or sticking your neck out or telling somebody about an idea you have and having, I want that one, and whatever, you know what I'm saying. You can actively put yourself in a vulnerable position, or you can accidentally get in a vulnerable position. Whatever the case is, the question is, what are you going to do about it when it pops up in your face? Peace, inner peace. You are enough. Okay, so that's part of what being vulnerable brings up, is feelings of not being enough. Because if you stick your neck out there and you get rejected, that's one of the things that brings up to the surface is, well, that must mean that I'm not good enough. Well, that's not what that means. That just means that's what you think. That doesn't mean they think you're not good enough. That just means you think you're not good enough. So you've got to get to that place of inner peace where, regardless of what happens or not, you did everything you could and you're worthy of having something better. And that's why you stepped up to plate in the first place. Serendipity. What does that mean? What does that mean? I think serendipity is just kind of like fated events. Okay. So I feel like that is them saying sometimes they present things in your life to force you into a growth period. So serendipity is kind of those fated meetings that happen. And I feel like that's kind of like what happened yesterday or today, his birthday, I couldn't change the date of his birthday. And so it was kind of like, that was one of those fated things. The universe is like, okay, we're going to put this thing up in front of you. Let's see how you play through this. Do you play through it and learn a lesson, or do you back down and be a chicken about it? The sacred woman. Okay, so if that is, I feel like that's just saying that the more you are in your sacred woman, feminine energy, sacred feminine energy, all of that feminine energy, the more imbalance you are going to get, the more powerful you are going to get, the more peace you are going to get. So if you have a lot of dis-ease in your life, that probably means that you are super out of balance with your feminine energy. And I feel like that's just them saying, get into flow with that, and things are going to be easier, and you'll move through these situations easier. The garden. When I see that, I'm like, I feel like that's just kind of like, if you have a situation like I had yesterday. Now, I did not go for a walk. I ended up just sitting on the couch crying, watching Brene Brown. But you can get guidance by just being and surrounding yourself in nature. If you get yourself into a situation, I feel like that's kind of a message of just like, ask your guides for help. Follow them. Let them lead you in the best direction for you when you have one of these kind of decisions to make. And emotional freedom. Yeah, that's kind of what happened. It's like, I feel emotionally free today because I looked that sucker in the face, and as scary as it was, and all the things that could happen because of what I was going to do, I feel so much, even though I'm crying doing this, I feel so much better today and really proud of myself because I didn't back down from it, and I didn't do the easy thing and chicken out and not do anything at all. and I stuck my neck out there no matter what happened. And so if you want emotional freedom, that's kind of what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to look that stuff in the face, and you're going to have to back it down if you want to get to a better way of living. I mean, that's just all there is to it. Okay, so I think that's enough. I've got a private reading I need to do after this, so I need to pull myself together. I would love to hear any comments that you have. Anytime that you have ever had this situation and you walked through it, and how you felt after it, and how proud you felt after it, or if you have a situation like that coming up at you right now and you need some guidance or some help to get through that. Because trust me, that fear feels like a big giant ball of energy that is like you have to force your way through it. And usually in the process, it's just like there's all kinds of shit coming up from inside. I mean, yesterday, like I said, I was a mess, crying. I knew what it was, but I just was like, every which way I went, it was like it could turn out bad no matter what I did. But the good thing is it turned out probably the best way it could have. So, anyway, I look forward to hearing from you. I'm going to go fix my makeup, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.